Just north of Hollywood North, in the downtown center of Kamloops, British Columbia, specifically here on Victoria Street, is the Paramount Theatre, home to the Kamloops Film Society and annual Kamloops Short Film Festival.
The festival, also known as Kiss Fest, runs during the larger Kamloops Film Festival and features locally produced productions of films that can run no longer than 5 minutes. It's a great way to support local filmmakers by giving them a venue to screen their films, along with cash prizes to encourage them to continue to pursue their filmmaking dreams. My name's Todd Sullivan.
And I'm Carlo Sia. Today, I'm sitting down with Dušan Magdolen, the executive director of the Kamloops Film Society, who will talk to us about the history of the festival, as well as the impact it has had on the young and emerging filmmakers who call it home. Just north of Hollywood North. So thanks for joining us here, Dušan. This is kind of a really cool setting that we're in, the Paramount Theatre downtown. So just to start off, can you tell us about the Kiss Fest and how it started?
Well, I wasn't around. I wasn't one of the founding members, but as far as I remember, John Fulton had the idea to want to support some filmmakers. I mean, he's always kind of done that ad hoc anyway, and that it would be really fun to have a little festival of kind of short films and give away some prizes and that sort of thing. And so it bloomed, and it used to be in its own time slot later in the spring than the festival. But a few years back, we thought, hey, this will elevate the festival because it'll have something else going on, and elevate Kiss Fest because now it'll have the marketing of the festival and kind of the busiest time of year for us to have people notice it.
Okay, so it kind of like married the two together to make it
and that
super
seemed to
fest.
really sort of take off, and we started getting more submissions, and people started noticing it more, and it was really fun. And then we started doing the thing where the winners from the previous year, we would play ahead of films at the following festival, the feature films, so people got, their films got a second life there as well.
Oh, that's cool. Mm-hmm. So what would you say is the goal of Kiss Fest and why you keep doing this?
To find the next great filmmaker and have them be indebted to us, so then they give us their film. No, I think it's just really I know for myself, because I used to participate in Kiss Fest, before I couldn't win prizes anymore because I was too involved, and then my laziness took over. But I think it's really that impetus to do something, and it's going to be shown on the big screen. So regardless of where it lands, and plus you got a chance to win a prize and maybe some money. And often the prize money was more than I had spent on the film, so it definitely could pay for the next one. And I think that's the case for a lot of people, where it just gives them something. They want to work on something. They have all these ideas, but sometimes it's hard to go, where are these other festivals? Where are shorts festivals in the world? How do I submit? Well, here it's very straightforward. You probably know some of the people involved. And so I think it gives people that sort of, creative kick in the butt to get out there and make it and submit it and maybe win something.
Yeah, some motivation that it's going to go further than their computer screens, right?
Yeah, well, and it's always surprising, too, how talented people in the TNRD are. Every year, I'm surprised by how awesome the films are. And, you get a gamut. You get some kids, we used to have this kid, would do claymation every year, and it was awesome. And you get some awesome, excellent documentaries about some, niche subject matters that maybe you wouldn't have thought about if they didn't show it, and then some cool narrative ones. People dabble in horror or whatever, comedy, and it's a lot of fun.
And you guys, it's neat. I've been to a couple of the film fests, the short film fest, and you guys are very inclusive in the sense of if somebody submits something that doesn't fit within the guidelines, sometimes you will still recognize it. I remember there was one last year where I think somebody basically did some animation that was really cool over top of sound from a previous movie, and I think that's not really allowed, but you guys rolled with it and still showcase that, which is still some really cool talent to see. So has there been any other films like that you've come across that don't necessarily fit the rules and regulation of Kiss Fest, but still were pretty amazing, and so you wanted to showcase them?
Yeah, definitely. If local people are making stuff, we want to show it off, right? And they're 5-minute shorts, so we haven't hit a 2-hour Kiss Fest yet, right? When we get to that point, like we always have in our guidelines, we may not play your film. That's just in case one year it like crazy blows up and we have to make some decisions. Because on one hand, we want it to be a celebration of the filmmakers, but on the other, we want it to be an enjoyable experience for people coming to watch as well. And so yeah, there used to be like Joy Factory used to be a sponsor of the festival, and they would also often submit, and so obviously, they couldn't compete, but we still wanted to show off their stuff because it always had some wit and humor behind it, and they would do that sort of thing. But yeah, the filmmaker from last year that made that one, it was the Lego shootout or something like that, and it was Django Unchained, but done with Lego, and it was, the animation was amazing. He argued that it was sort of parody, but I'm like, well, he's just doing the scene with Lego, so maybe. He could be right on it, but yeah, we still wanted to reward it with a jury award because he did a great job.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing, and there are some very talented people locally for sure. What's your favorite part of the Kiss Fest?
I think, just seeing the films, especially I always, even when I used to submit, it used to be a lot of sort of documentary type films from adults, and then it was like the kids and me, which arguably maybe I was a kid at that time, but it was the kids and me that were doing narrative, and I always tend to lean towards narrative, although it's nice to find out about something through a documentary or just a little sort of time capsule of something. I always think it's fun because and kids will do some wacky stuff story-wise, that sort of thing. That's always my favorite part, is seeing what sort of young people are up to.
Now, speaking of young people, do you go out and kind of promote this in the school district in town and try and get some of the younger students interested in the film process or anything? Yeah,
we do a bit of that. We could, for KISS in general, we probably could do an overall better job in getting the word out. And we do reach out to the schools and try and let them know. And some years, it usually helps when a teacher kind of takes it on and gets it to their students. And then we see from this school, we got 6 submissions or something like that. So that always helps because, like I said, I enjoy what the young people do often. So yeah, we could do a better job, but we do a little bit, and we definitely want those sorts of emerging filmmakers to be getting in there. But now we have the 2 streams, so even people that have been around for a while that maybe want to strut their stuff, or they've made something and need another play. They've entered in some other festivals and want a different one. We want to celebrate that as well, because we're starting to, because when we first started, it was basically everyone was amateur that was submitting. And then slowly we started to see, well, some of these people actually have quite a bit of experience, and now it doesn't seem super fair when this person's picking up their phone to film something for the first time, and somebody, has got some equipment and has been on some sets and whatever. So that's why we kind of split it up into the 2 streams now.
Yeah, and I guess that would be, one of the things is that now that the film industry in town is growing, we're seeing more people that have access to better equipment. So that's really cool. When did you start doing those 2 streams of?
That was just this year. This was the first year of the 2 streams, and then we're going to continue it on that route ongoing. Because it's really cool that the Kamloops film industry is kicking off, and hopefully next year's film festival will be opening with a Kamloops-made film. That's the hope.
Oh, cool. A little spoiler, teaser.
Yeah, teaser.
So why do you think this type of festival is important to have in the community?
I think, again, the celebration, sometimes film doesn't get in our opinion, mine and the board's opinion, sometimes film doesn't get the respect as an art form. It's seen more as an entertainment source. And I think seeing what local people can do, and it's definitely a bit more artistic because they're taking some risks, they're doing some avant-garde stuff and that sort of thing. You really see the art form at play. And also I think it's one, that entertainment piece, people are seeing the art form as entertainment, but also the celebration of the artists themselves from the TNRD, getting to see their work on the big screen, getting to maybe get some prizes, again, they're going to be played in front of some feature film, so it's not just going to be people who've chosen to come see these shorts see it. Now you're going to have some, regular people just seeing it and see how it plays and how it does.
And now, speaking of the TNRD, they have a prize that they do, or an award that they give as well for a film shot in the area, kind of promoting. How did that come about, the team up between Kiss Fest and the TNRD?
Well, I think, as far as my understanding is, so the Thompson Nicola Film Commission, which is an arm of the TNRD, has been a sponsor of the film festival as a whole since the very beginning. And so I believe when Kiss Fest came to be, they were a little bit involved, and things kind of changed as far as how many awards, what kind of awards. And so now they do 2 awards. One is for, the TNFC award, which is for the best sort of showcase of the TNRD. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be, vistas and that sort of thing, whatever kind of shows off the area the best. And then they do another one, which I really like, which is sort of a lottery prize. So anyone that didn't get another prize gets entered in, and you can just randomly win, just being lucky. So, okay. But I think it's fun because it gives more people an opportunity to take something home, take a gaffer trophy home. So I think that's really good. But Vicky and the TNFC have been so supportive of the film festival and of Kiss Fest.
So do you know if there's any other local festivals that are like Kiss Fest, or is this kind of one of a kind on its own?
I think in this area it's one of a kind. I'm not 100% sure. Kelowna might have something especially out of their university. I know they do. Their university runs some sort of film festival, so they might have something like that, but not that I'm aware of. Nobody has sort of mentioned it to me. It seems fairly unique. Obviously, in other art forms, there are these types of things, whether it be visual art or theater arts or that sort of thing, there is sort of little festivals and things, and for writers or that sort of stuff. But for film, I think we're the go-to in our region anyway.
Do you see, as this picks up more and more, that you might reach out to other communities to try and have some sort of rivalry or something, like have others bring into the Kamloops Film Fest?
Oh, like people entering from outside
from
of the region?
Wherever else?
Potentially. I've always wanted to sort of open it a bit wider, still have a local category, but open it a bit wider. But we kind of want to see how these 2 streams, the professional versus amateur, goes for a bit, and then maybe make some decisions depending on how it's growing or where things are going. Because I know for John, as one of the founders, he really always wanted to keep it local when I was saying, let's open it up. And there is definitely some value to that, and there's always going to be a local component to it, but who knows, down the road we might, or other communities might want to do something similar, and so we'll just help them sort of go, hey, here's some things we learned, here's how we do things, and maybe they'll set up kind of their own.
Okay. Yeah. I know you're fairly new to running this whole thing. Are there things that you've learned along the way so far that you either want to include or you've already started to do, other than the 2 different streams?
Yeah, I think we're always sort of tweaking. Again, I think the big part is that marketing piece is being able to get that out there. So I think, we've learned that we need to do that, and also because we were making changes to the 2-stream model, we got information out about the festival a little bit late, I think, for filmmakers this year. So making sure that we're sort of early with it, and those timing things do matter, right? Our hope is always that filmmakers are just making films day in and day out, and they just have a bunch of them, and then the festival comes along and they're like, oh my God, I just need to purge myself of all these films. But I think, as I was alluding to earlier, I think it is that impetus. So I think when we go, hey, the festival's coming up, you've got 3 months, they sort of go, okay, I can make a movie in that time. When we go, hey, the festival's coming up, you've got 3.5 weeks, I think it makes it a little bit tougher. So making sure that we're early, so that's something we definitely learned, that we want to give filmmakers enough time to get that kick in the butt and go out there and make it.
So do you know anyone who's submitted something to Kiss Fest and has gone on to work on some bigger projects that have gone out into the community or made it even bigger?
Yeah, I think a lot of the filmmakers have. The sort of poster child for Kiss Fest, in my opinion, is Cora Vanderlip, because she started as a teenager, entering in sort of the youth category, and has grown into a great filmmaker in her own right, and she's working on lots of different stuff, and so that's a real cool success story for Kiss Fest. Not that obviously it's her own talents that have taken her, but I think Kiss Fest did help give her something to submit to every year, and and hopefully had some tiny part to play in where she's now.
Is there anything that you hope to see added to Kiss Fest in the future as it continues to grow?
That's a good question. I mean, just I would love to see more films, and so then that would allow more categories. Like we've started to see more music videos lately. It would be neat for us to get enough films that maybe music videos have their own category within Kiss Fest, and obviously it makes sense because with the 5-minute time limit, music videos fit right in. So that sort of thing, and then maybe starting to get enough youth submissions that youth have their own completely own category, and that sort of thing. Just starting to open up, and maybe getting some more sponsors into Kiss Fest, and maybe they have some things that they want to kind of focus on, and that'd be kind of neat having some unique kind of prizes in there as well.
So aside from Kiss Fest, you do have another role in the film side of Kamloops. You also run the nonprofit, the Kamloops Film Society, and you have, as I pointed out, we're in a theater. You run this theater. Are there any okay, first of all, tell us a bit about that role.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. So since 2019, the Kelson Group bought the Paramount Theater from Landmark, and then they were already in talks with us to run it still as a movie theater, which we were excited to do. We had to prove ourselves a little bit, show some financials and that sort of thing, but we were able to do that, and we stepped into it. So it was great for me personally. I left a different job and came in to work at a movie theater full time, which if I had told little me in Slovakia that was going to happen one day, would have blown his little mind. So it was very exciting. But one of our mandates as the Kamloops Film Society is supporting local filmmaking. So whenever we can, we try and do that. We've done some workshops and that sort of thing, and we want to do more of it, obviously, as COVID dissipates, hopefully. We want to do more of those sort of thing. And then we, support local films as much as we can. We've had them as part of the Kamloops Film Festival, but we've even had some sort of as regular screenings in our regular program, the biggest one being Dirt Chicks, which we ended up running for a month, which was a local film about female mountain bikers, a group of female mountain bikers that get together and do that. And it's gone on to win awards, I think internationally, actually. Oh, wow. But it kind of started here is where it got sort of a big play, and it was awesome for us because people were coming out to see it. And I think it was great for the community because it was like, how often, where else were you going to see that film on the big screen? Of course, here in Kamloops, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Are there any other locally filmed productions that you've had come through here? I know we've had some big shows that are filmed here. I don't know if those have made their way through here.
Yeah, some of those I think have been too big to make it to our theater. They've obviously played at the Cineplex, which is also great, as long as people have a chance to see themselves on the big screen. But definitely, as more is happening, we're starting to see some of those different levels. I know CJ Boscader's company. They've been producing some films locally. We'd love to show some of those. They have certain TV deals that they have to kind of work through before they're able to come to a movie theater. But when you watch the trailers for those films, they're like very Kamloops. They're not like, oh, this one scene was shot in Kamloops. The whole thing has been shot, and that's really exciting. That hasn't really happened before. And then we're also in conversation with Ken Hegan on his film about trying to bring that in and have that play here because lots of people worked on it. A lot of it was shot in this area. So I think my hope is that there's just going to be more and more of that. And we're as the Film Society, we're very excited to get behind those films because one, it's great to get people into the theater and people love local content. But we also want to celebrate those sorts of films and show them off. And so yeah, we've had I think a couple of years ago we had a film. It was a really sort of small budget film that a guy I think made mostly on his own with a drone and then just him going out and shooting some shots. 6 Days in December, I think that was called. And we played that one because we're always, the plan for the film festival is to show that next level of films that you wouldn't otherwise get to see, that next best. But, there's always some gray area in there, and we always give, if something's from Canada, we give it a second look. If something's from BC, we give that a third look. If something's from, the region, a fourth look, and if it's from Kamloops, we're going to give it a fifth look. So, as the closer to home that something is made, the better odds it gets. And I think that's as it should be, right? Because we want to be supporting local talent. And my hope is that we start to get more and more of those films and, KISS entrants start making huge films and coming and premiering them here. That would be awesome and super exciting for us.
Are you seeing any of the impact from these local productions that are starting to build up here? Are people approaching you more to want to have a screening here? Are Are you hearing anything about?
A little bit of that, although that's always sort of existed. When someone's working on something, we're the first ones to approach because, Cineplex, you're going through some corporate paperwork online and trying to get, whereas here, you phone, you either get me or Emily, so you get the number one or the number two at the company to discuss whether you want your film here or not. So we've always sort of had that, but I think we're going to get more of it, and I think we're going to have more us going, hey, we want to show your film because it was shot locally, the way we're doing with pursuing CJ, or the conversations we're having with Ken. Although I think he intended to at some point have that chat also, but we were definitely like, hey, we're keen, keep us in mind, so we want to kind of stay on his radar as somewhere to play it.
It is neat that you're very community focused with what you're doing with the society and with KissFest. Now you mentioned Ken. He is doing a panel thing at KissFest this year, and you mentioned that you've done them before. What sort of things do you like? What's your goal with those panels for the community?
Yeah, I mean, depending on which one, with the sort of making movies in Kamloops panel, the idea was to sort of give the gamut. Now that more is happening, how can people get involved on sort of lower level, like being a PA or something like that? And then with Ken, it was great because he made sort of, in this area, kind of a medium-sized film, right? It wasn't super low budget comparatively to what, a lot of Kiss entrants are doing, that sort of thing. But it wasn't sort of unattainable, crazy amounts of money where you're sort of like, well, I don't know how to write grants and that amount. You're like, that seems like a conceivable number that maybe we could, and he had some great pointers about where to keep your budget to be able to have actors at a certain level through the union and that sort of thing. And so that sort of idea where you kind of give people that next step with the panel where they get information and get inspired and go, hey, I should get out there and make something, but also making it sort of realistic where they can kind of go, this is doable. Like this guy was able to do it. Yes, he's got lots of writing experience, that sort of thing, but as far as getting money together for a film, these were the steps he took, and then people can kind of figure out their own path through that, and that's the hope. Because again, we want more and more. The hope eventually, like the Film Society used to give grants for when films were being made and that sort of thing. And through COVID, through taking over the theater, and then COVID, we've sort of pulled that back. But we're hoping to relaunch that again eventually as well, because. And that'll be a very direct way of supporting filmmaking. But anytime people are making movies in this area, if we can help, we want to try.
And what would some advice from, someone who runs KissFest, what would your advice be to anyone considering submitting a film, or has an inkling that maybe film is something they want to dabble in? What's some advice that you'd like to give them?
I think the biggest advice is just do it. Just go and do it. There's pretty good free software, or someone will let you use software. Talk to some people that have already maybe made films. Like if you came to KISS and you saw some films and you saw some of the people, make some contact. If you need the Film Society to be the middle person to see if someone's willing to talk to you. But most filmmakers are pretty game to help out anybody else coming up because they know they were there and so they want to help as well. But I think the biggest thing is just do it. I think you can find all the excuses in the world not to make your film. Oh, I'm busy with this, and this is going to take too much time, whatever. And I get it. I understand. But, I think if you do it, even when it doesn't go superbly well, and you have to make a ton of concessions to bring it over the finish line, you learn so much every time, and it's rewarding in its own way anyway. So even if you're like the final product, you're like, I would have changed basically everything. You still, I think, learn a lot, and then it inspires you for that next one and that next one, and then it's kind of snowballing and going, and now you've made 10 of them, and now you feel comfortable, and maybe you've gotten a better piece of equipment, and that's sort of how it rolls. But you gotta make that first one.
And now, speaking of kind of talking to other filmmakers, have you ever seen like a collaboration with some people who have submitted their own individual things, and then years later they've teamed up somehow and come up with some pretty amazing things? Like, is that common?
Yeah, I mean, I don't track it super closely, but you see it all the time where, different filmmakers, and then the following year, those two worked at that person was a cinematographer on their thing, that person acted in that person's thing, and I think it's great because, I mean, still the community, even though it's budding, it's still not huge. right? And so people working together a lot, I think, is great. And yeah, I think you see a ton of it, but I don't know. I haven't done an actual like, oh, this person this person made one by themselves, and they worked with this person, and they, and then some sort of weird deformed family tree of who's worked together and not. But just anecdotally, I see it a ton. Yeah, and it's great. I think it's awesome when people can feed off each other, and also sometimes finding crew, because actors is usually easier to find because everybody wants to be in front of the camera, but sometimes finding crew can be really difficult. So if people can help each other out, that's also awesome, just because you suddenly actually have someone doing sound, and you have someone working the camera, so you can direct if that's what you're doing for that film or whatever. It opens it up a bit. I know some of the stuff I've made, when I'm holding the camera and the mic and trying to direct, it's a lot more difficult than when I get to just direct, which was fairly rare, but happens sometimes.
So if somebody is watching this right now and they're really keen on putting something together, what would you recommend their first step be? Do you have something on your website that they could go look at?
Yeah, we do have access to some resources on our website, but obviously, just get on the Google machine, and there's great resources out there, YouTube videos, that sort of thing. And even with your phone now, you can make a pretty awesome film. So I think, don't worry about not having all the pieces in place. Just, you've got that idea, it's in the back of your mind, sort of gnawing away, let it out into the world to see what happens.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dušan, for sitting down with me and answering all my questions. You're doing an amazing job with KissFest, and I'm looking forward to seeing where things go, and how many more submissions you get, and how many more feature films come out of the people that are submitting. So thanks again for joining me here.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to see where things go too.
Keeping it rocking. So in the amateur stream, the Golden Gaffer goes to Creative Crisis from Axel Hansen. Congratulations. Packing out the hardware. Excellent.
So we are here at the KISS Film Festival, and we are talking to Axel Hansen, who just cleaned house today. You came away with 3 awards for your short film that you submitted today. First of all, maybe tell us a little bit about your film.
Okay, well, my film, I was having trouble finding an idea, so I decided to do a film about having trouble finding an idea. So that's really what my film was about. It's pretty simple.
All right. And is this your first film that you've entered into KissFest?
No, I actually did one last year. It was called Alienated. It was just one I filmed alone in the forest. It was pretty standard. Yeah.
Okay, and I think I saw an interview where, you did everything by yourself, like setting up the camera and doing that. So, yeah.
For sure, yeah.
And was that kind of same process in this one, or did you involve more? Okay.
For sure.
Wow,
Yeah.
So you're getting really good with just doing things on your own.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to get into filmmaking in general?
Actually, it was a long time ago. I read the Harry Potter books, and I hadn't really watched a lot of movies before that. And it was crazy to see how they could bring like a story to life using filmmaking and make it so real. And that's kind of what got me into filmmaking. I was just happy to do anything with filmmaking from that point on. Yeah.
Nice. So outside of the independent shorts that you've done, what other films have you taken on, or have you done any other film work?
Well, I've done a lot of short films on my own. I've done some with a director down in Salmon Arm named Max Beckner. He's pretty cool. He does some independent films down there, so I've done a couple of those, and that's pretty much it for my film exposure so far.
Okay, so you're just fresh, getting into it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you see yourself continuing on down this filmmaking process?
I want to become a filmmaker. It's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. So I do see myself continuing down that road. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
What advice, I guess, for somebody who's watching this, who's maybe thinking about getting into it, what advice would you have as an amateur filmmaker? This is your passion. This is where you want to go. What would you tell them?
Well, I don't know if I'm qualified to give advice yet, but I would say just make movies. Just go out and try to make movies, because there's not really anything stopping you. So why not? That's probably what I would say to other filmmakers.
Some good advice. Do you have any like special equipment, or because you're starting out, you're just working with what you have? Like what are you using right now? I guess
I used to work with just my phone and a little app called Filmic Pro, which is just like something that helps you film better on a phone. But now I have a Blackmagic cinema camera, which is the cheapest, probably most cost-effective way to drastically improve your filmmaking. So yeah, that's what I have.
Okay, and take us through the process, I guess, of coming up with an idea for your films that you've done so far to watching it on the screen. Like what happens in your life when you're making these films?
Well, honestly, for this festival specifically, I usually just come up with it like 2 or 3 days before the deadline, and I have to like grind. So I was up until like 4:30 in the morning editing that last one, and I actually deleted half the clips. So the next day I skipped school and reshot everything and re-edited it till like 4:30. So it was a bit of a grind. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Should we be cutting that skip school part? Do they know? Is that okay?
I don't know. I think we said I had an appointment.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. This will come out in the future. It's all good.
Yeah.
Wow. So you really push yourself on that.
Yeah, for sure.
And was that the same thing? Well, I guess your last one was a little bit more detailed, so I'm assuming you had put a little bit more thought into that one.
Actually, I filmed it about 6 hours before the deadline. So I didn't even have an idea before. My mom was like, hey, there's this film festival. Why don't you try out? So I just went to the forest and I shot a bunch of shots and put it together and sent it off. So that was
oh my gosh. So you're cleaning house with your, last minute deadline projects. Imagine what you could do, if you actually put some pen to paper.
Yeah.
And wow, you definitely have a gift. That's
Thank
amazing.
You. That's awesome.
So you came out with the Kamloops Arts Council Award.
Right.
You took home the Audience Award for Amateur Filmmaker, and you also what was the other one that you came out? Oh, with the gold in the amateur section. So wow, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So are you gonna wait until 6 hours before next year's deadline to come up with something, or are you already percolating some ideas?
I'm probably gonna do it a little earlier because I was really feeling the stress on this one. So yeah, I'll probably do a little bit more preparation. But I'm really excited for next year. For sure.
Yeah. And I noticed at the beginning of your films, you have a couple of different things. I think was it Cousins production?
Cousins.
So where did those come from?
So the first film I ever made was with my cousins a long time ago, and it was awful, but it was really fun to make. So we made our own little production company, and we did the little jumping man logo and stuff like that. So we were pretty excited about that. So I just put that at the start of my movies. Yeah, and then the Bexon is down at the Salmon Arm. He helps out with some of the stuff. So. Yeah, that's what those are.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting us interview you, and congratulations. Yeah. So Axel Hansen, we're looking forward to seeing what you come out with next year.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
And frame. Action.
Just north of Hollywood North, in the downtown center of Kamloops, British Columbia, specifically here on Victoria Street, is the Paramount Theater. Okay, reset.
Oh my
Wow. So you mentioned two streams. What are you talking about? Two streams. Sorry, let me rephrase that. That sounded too stupid. So the two. Okay, stop. We're getting serious here. Todd's gonna have fun editing this one. Yeah.
Stop saying we're getting serious here.
Snickers for the corner. And by
So I'm not gonna let you go.
That was me, the last minute filmmaker
yeah.
this year. 3.5
Yeah, but it was
weeks.
all last minute
Axel
because we got the
too, yeah.
info out. So and of course you
But no,
played it and your movie was great.
everyone,
so it's like,
but everyone knows it's a thing. Everyone knows it's a
I
thing.
have too many expectations. I do this so last minute.
You gotta temper it a little.
I know what you're up to though, and I told you. I do the same thing. Well, I don't know about this one, but I'm like, I fucking put all my heart and soul into it.